Hey guys, Joel Brimewell here. Thank you for joining me on this Select a Bible Topic Tuesday. On Marriage and Family Monday, I talked about how to increase your relationship, grow in your relationship through the 5 love languages. Take a look at that and give me feedback. I'd appreciate any comments you want to make. On Witnessing Wednesday, I'm going to talk to you about servant evangelism. But on Select a Bible Topic Tuesday, last time there was a lot of votes for capital punishment. They actually tied. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about capital punishment. Capital punishment, is there a biblical basis for it where someone's life is taken as a result of some heinous crime they commit that's enacted by the state, by the government? We find a biblical basis for capital punishment back in Genesis chapter 9. Right after the flood, God talks about those, whoever sheds man's life, his life shall be required. And so that's a biblical basis right after the flood to say judgment will still come for people that commit sin. And then we find in the New Testament, because some people say, well, that's Old Covenant, and that's a theocracy in Israel, even before the Israel was created. But in the New Testament, we find Romans 13, where Paul says that those who serve as governing officials, especially talking probably not just about politicians, but also those who serve like as police or as military, because it talks about bearing the sword. He says they do not bear the sword in vain. And he talks about that in context of those that do evil, and that Christians ought to be those that do good and should never do evil. And if we ever suffer, we should suffer for doing good. But he says there are ministering servants. There are servants who God places in the government who do not bear the sword in vain. And that's almost certainly a reference to beheading, which happened in Roman society by capital punishment. Typically, crucifixion was done for the worst of crimes, but a lot of them were just beheaded. And that's the way the Apostle Paul tradition tells us why he passed away and so forth. But the beheading, there's another form of capital punishment, and it are those servants that God has put in place to serve the country that way, to serve their government that way. And so we have both Old Covenant and New Covenant that give us bases for capital punishment, the ending of someone's life. Now, there's a debate as to how you should end someone's life. Should you do it by beheading, like guillotine, or by old Roman axe? Should you use lethal injection? There used to be death by firing squad or hangings. You can have those debates as to what kind. I think they shouldn't have to be suffering long. If you're going to put someone to death, it should be relatively quick. And then the question is, what kind of crimes? Well, I think obviously if there's intent to murder, someone really want to take someone's life, that's the biblical basis in Genesis 9. And so I think that's a good case. Other crimes may not necessarily deserve capital punishment. It just depends. But so we can debate that. Again, that's something we might set standards on. But Scripture lays out and says this is what should happen. And these are cases. This is a case for capital punishment if you take someone's life with intent. And that both Old and New Testament agree with that. So I hope that helps. Feel free to give me comments. Take a look at those passages yourself and see what they say. And keep wrestling with Scripture. I'll talk to you again soon.